Okay. So clearly, I have not been doing the best job with posting videos for many reasons. Um, but so I'm just going to do this live. I have read some really helpful, interesting books this year, and I'm just going to go through them and then also go through some shows and movies that have just made me very happy. I'm sorry I didn't like schedule this ahead of time and like make an announcement and stuff so whoever's online can join. And it's of course gonna be on my profile. But I'm doing it live because then I don't have to stress about multiple takes and editing and all of that. So I'm just gonna to do it. Okay. This one actually I can't remember if I read it this year or last year. But How to Be a Boss by Lily Singh. First of all, I love Lily Singh, okay, because she's her career trajectory is my dream. So she started off as a YouTuber. She's now a producer, late night TV show host, and actor, and everything that I want to be in the world. And actually, I remember she started off on YouTube when I was in school. So I've been watching her work for I don't know how many years. Like I've seen the progression of her videos. And actually, when she started off, there were people in school who used to tell me that I could do the same thing, and that's been a big motivation for me to even get on YouTube because she also started off shooting in front of some random wall and just giving her thoughts and just being funny. So she was like a big influence for me growing up. Like I've been following her for a long time. Anyway, so she published this book, and I'm not a huge fan of self help books in general. Um, but this, I think, was really relevant to me because she talks about being a media person, like being the public eye, being a content creator, being in like the media industry, etc. So, a friend gifted this to me for my birthday, and it actually turned out to be very different from what I expected. So, aside from her examples being very relevant to me and my field and the work that I do and stuff, she really tells it like it is, like I feel like some self-help books have a tendency to go into giving a lot of gyan and saying like, oh, you just have to work harder and be positive and whatever. But she gives you some really honest feedback. She really like calls it out. Like she calls out how people want to do a lot of different things, but they don't want to actually put in the work to get there. Like everybody wants the success, but nobody wants to do the work. And she gives a lot of examples about how she's been in the industry for and making videos for like 10 plus years. And that's why she got to where she got, right? Like every week, like two videos for 10 years is a lot of work. It doesn't happen overnight. So she gives some very honest advice. I would love to gift this or recommend it to anyone who's like planning a career change, someone who's maybe in school or college who doesn't really have a clear idea of what kind of work goes into some of these jobs, because we I guess we have a fair understanding that engineering, medicine, law, it takes a lot of education and studying and whatever, but when it comes to media related jobs, there's not a lot of clarity about what happens behind the scenes and what you need to do in order to be successful, especially in this day and age of Instagram influencers and yeah, social media. So I think she would be a great person to learn from in terms of that career trajectory, and this book actually has been super useful. So this I recommend to anybody who has made a lot of plans and hasn't gotten around to executing them. So this is the first one. I can take questions about the books specifically. Karthik Acharya says it's an awful book. Well, it really resonated with me. To each their own. I can take some questions about the books, but I'm not doing a general Q&A, AMA. We'll see if we have time. I will be doing movies and TV shows also in a moment. Karthik, why don't you tell us why you hated the book? Um, the next one is this, Educated by Tara Westover, which, if I recall correctly, I read earlier this year. It's a story of a girl who grew up in a very small, remote house in a small town, very cut away from the world, and how her father's views on the world really impacted her. Like she was not really homeschooled. The expectation from her was that she would continue working, get married to somebody within the town and just live her life. And at some point she makes a decision. I won't give you spoilers. She makes a decision to go to college. So it's a story of how she navigates the education system, having never been homeschooled, having never been in school, being primarily self-taught, and how she goes to college, and from there how she discovers her career as a writer, researcher, etc. And what I really like about this book is that the sentences are very simple. Like, it doesn't feel complicated when you're reading it, but the visual that she gives you and that feeling that she pulls you into is just so real. It's very, it seems very simply written, but it's also very powerful and very evocative. This book like made me cry because for me, I was the first generation to go in my family to go abroad to study, and so navigating the US education system on my own was stressful to say the least. And so I really resonated with a lot of her culture shocks, a lot of her cultural confusion when it came to going out into the real world of the US college system. So it really resonated with me. Also, the whole concept of shedding your childhood influences and sort of becoming your own person, and making your own choices rather than blindly believing what you have been told, really resonated with me. So I really, really love this book. This version I bought abroad. It has a different cover when it's sold in India, but it's on Amazon. I will put a link to my Amazon storefront, which has all of these books listed. So I'll do that after this. But yes, I highly, highly, highly recommend. uh let's see some of the comments. I really like Lily. Read the book years ago, grown out of her, maybe. I don't know. I used to like Lily Singh, but now I don't. Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to like Lily Singh to appreciate the book, because the book is very useful on its own, I would say. I love reading, but I stopped reading since 2014. I started working. I don't get enough time to read. Well, I understand that. I also didn't read for many years in between, but I was able to get myself back into the habit. So if you can start, that will be good. Instead of maybe TV or movies while you're eating or taking a break, maybe you could pick up a book instead. In my realm of knowledge, you're an empath who dated a narcissist in the past, suffering emotional abuse. Okay, not related to the book, so I'm not going to continue down that path. This is the other one that I read this year. It's called Less. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. Less by Andrew Sean Greer. It is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize last year. So the Pulitzer Prize is primarily a prize for journalism, but it also awards prizes for books that have significantly covered, or documented, or encapsulated the culture of America in that year, which this book does. So it's a story of a 40-something-year-old single man who was meant to get who has been in a relationship for a very long time, and then suddenly that relationship ends, and his partner goes on to get engaged to somebody else. And so what he does to cope is that he accepts every single conference invitation, book review invitation around the world, and he's just like, peace out, San Francisco, I'm going for a year. So for a year he travels, and through his travels, you get snippets of his previous relationship, you get snippets of his life, and it's just so vividly written. The vocabulary is a little advanced. I had some trouble with it, but it's very beautiful. Like, it just sort of reminds you of the beauty of life, and the way that he talks about the way he describes these cities that he's traveling to is so rich. It just feels like you're there. Like, it's so visual, and it's so intoxicating almost. You just feel like you're where he is, and you're going through what he's going through. So it was very beautifully written, and to me very relatable, because it really, especially reading it in 2020 during lockdown, it sort of reminded me um, of travel, and of traveling alone, and of traveling to cities you've been to before, traveling to cities you've never been to before, the memories that you create while you're traveling. So it was very nostalgic for me in that sense. I really enjoyed it. It's great. I really love it. It's available here also. This one I purchased abroad, but you can get it here. It's very nice. I very like it. I usually gravitate towards books that have been written by women, as you'll see, but this is a rare exception where it's been written by a man, a contemporary male author that I do not despise. Yes, Rahul, you should read it. Please tell fast about movies. You could always watch this video later, bro, when I get to the movies. Is that Trump on the cover of Less? No, that is the character Less on the cover of Less. Just because he is a blonde man in a blue suit doesn't make him Trump. Can you suggest a book to develop interest in reading? Everybody has different interests, so you have to find a genre that interests you, whether it's fiction, non-fiction, contemporary, classical, self-help, business. You have to find your genre. So it depends on your personal interest. So you have to pick up something that you like. Spiritual book suggestions. I don't read spiritual books, but my mom is a big fan of J. Krishnamurti and really loves all of his writing. So, and I've heard really good things about J. Krishnamurti's writing in general. So maybe that will help. All right. The last book that I want to talk about is this one, which is, oh my God, I'm obsessed. The stream is the start of many more, and this is what I keep wanting to call you about. Keep streaming. Thanks, Kesha. God bless. Elif Shafak, 10 minutes, 38 seconds in the strange world. Now, Elif Shafak had been on my list forever, like a really long time, but I never really got around to. She's written a lot of books, so I didn't know where to start. But one person specifically recommended this book. So I got hold of it finally, and it was on my bookshelf for a year before I picked it up. But my God, man, if there's a book that I've fallen in love with this year, it's this book. It's, you know, when I finished reading this book, I just hugged it for like a few minutes, because when the book finished, it felt like, you know, my best friend was leaving town and I wouldn't see her again in a long time. So I just had to like hug her at the airport. Like that's how it felt. It's just, I can't even find the words. So, okay, the things that I loved about this book. Firstly, it talks about social issues, but not in a preachy way. Secondly, the cast of characters are so diverse. It's so, and not diverse in the sense like, you know, just for the sake of having a diverse character, they've introduced one minority quota, but genuinely, like, the diversity, the inclusion is the right word. Diversity is probably, you know, just having different people from different walks of life, but inclusion is having them all really have a seat at the table, right? So that's what this book does, and it's so beautifully told. It talks about certain moments in history. It talks about real places, and it talks about a very real experience of a woman. And you know, it's, I usually tear up if I'm reading something that I relate to. In this case, it wasn't particularly something that I related to the events that happened in the book, but it's still just, she's such a evocative writer. Like, you really, if you need help learning how to be empathetic, like, this book is where to start, because it really forces you to see through the eyes of someone you might never meet in your life, and also still care about them and still want to make friends with them. And you know, just, it just makes you realize that your assumptions about people are probably wrong. So I just really love this book. It's the best. Elif Shafak is my new favorite writer. I need to get more of her work. Currently reading Murakami because I'm predictable. Norwegian Word again has been on my shelf for I don't know how long, but I've just started it, so I'm like barely a third of the way in. And review will come up soon. But Murakami is a very well-known, well-publicized writer, so I don't need to. I have nothing new to add in terms of praise for Murakami. Now, coming to shows. Hold on, I have a spreadsheet because I'm like that. I will take a water break and look at some questions before we get there. Where is this tab? Okay. Hi, Arnav. Okay, if there are no questions, I shall continue with movies and shows. Okay, let's do shows first. The last show that I watched that I really fell in love with is a show called Euphoria, which is on Hotstar. It is based on another show of the same name, I believe. But that show is an Israeli limited series. So this one is different. It's set in the US, and it follows these high school students as they navigate, life. So it sounds really cliche as a premise. Like, I mean, how many of these shows have we watched? How many of these movies have we watched, right? So it seemed very cliche, which is why I sort of didn't get into watching it when I first heard about it. But then, oh my god, it is quite dark. Okay, as a show, it covers some very heavy subjects, and it can be very difficult to watch. Like, I couldn't watch more than one episode at a time. Like, after one episode, I was like, I need like 10 minutes before I come back. Um, and it has a lot of, like triggering moments. So, if you have any trouble with mental health and eating disorders and substance abuse and all of that, like, you have to be a little careful while watching it, because it hits a lot of these sensitive areas. But it tells the story so beautifully. At least it reminded me of a lot of the struggles that I went through in terms of discovering myself as a person of my own, coming out of school, going to college, abroad, suddenly no parental supervision, and suddenly I'm trying to navigate this whole new world. So it reminded me a lot of that, which is why I really resonated with it. But other than that, in terms of technicalities, it's beautiful. Like, it has beautiful lighting, beautiful sound, an original score to die for. It includes so many recent modern tracks, like in terms of the latest like pop hits, etc. So it's full of great music also, and the performances, of course, are spectacular. I was not really a Zendaya fan until this, but now, my God, she is a force to reckon with, and I can't wait to see what she does after this. So Euphoria, which is on Hotstar. I will put all of this in the description later. The other one that I really liked, oh my God, Schitt's Creek. Please tell me you'll have all watched Schitt's Creek, because it's talked about, man. It's pretty mainstream. I don't really need to add anything. It's the first few episodes really didn't draw me in, but then as I kept watching, the character growth and like the progression that the characters take is spectacular. It's just too sweet, and I can't really talk much more about it without giving you spoilers, but it's very beautiful, and it depicts a lot of um, sensitive subjects very humorously, very sensitively. So I really, really liked Schitt's Creek. What else? I think that's it with TV shows. In terms of movies, See You Soon, which is a Malayalam movie on Prime Video, is spectacular. I really feel like Malayalam um, movies, like the Malayalam film industry, is 10 years ahead of the rest of India, honestly, in terms of like writing, performance, in terms of technical skills. Man, some of those movies are unbelievably well executed. Like, it's just, and this movie, See You Soon, was shot in lockdown. So it's particularly interesting in that sense, that it's path breaking in that way. And it's on Prime Video, and it's very hard hitting. It's very it's both relatable and pushes your boundaries at the same time. Fahad Fasil he is the most. I mean, I don't understand why his fan base is not bigger. Like, he should be up there with Shah Rukh and Amitabh Bachchan as a legend of his times. His the works that he chooses to produce, the performances, it's just, I'm his biggest fan girl right now. Books which helped you grow mentally and emotionally. Therapy. A book cannot fix mental and emotional growth, to me personally. Most of the movie was shot on an iPhone. That's crazy. It's crazy. I love that series. That conversation about sexual orientation with respect to wine was, yeah, I agree. I agree, Ashwati. YouTube showed me a video after a year. Screwed up algorithms, set notifications now. Thank you, Sumit. Yes. Someone said, ew, David. You clearly watched the show. I love it. Okay. I'll just do like two, three more. The other movie that I really loved is Trial of the Chicago 7. You guys, it's on Netflix. I'm like, everybody needs to watch Trial of the Chicago 7. Honestly, at a time, oh my God, I don't want to get into this political sphere, but at a time when voices need to be raised, I'll just say that. It's a great movie to watch in terms of revolution, in terms of resistance, in terms of um, the people coming together to talk about what's okay and what's not okay and how the government spends their money. It's fantastic. Sacha Baron Cohen is unrecognizable in that role, and he is the most sensational actor. Again, very underrated, not given enough due. Like, yes, his comedic work is fantastic, but he is spectacular in Trial of the Chicago 7. I can't even. How long have I been talking for? 20 minutes. Okay, we'll wrap this up in 10 minutes, okay? Because I have another meeting after this. Okay. Moonlight. Moonlight, of course, swept the Oscars 2 years ago. It was nominated for a bunch of things, okay? And it had been on my list for a long time, and I was finally, whatever, lockdown, finally watched it. And it's just, oh, it's so beautiful. You know, it talks about the fact that blood, you know, the phrase blood is thicker than water is not necessarily true, right? Like there are people whose lives don't work that way, where their family is not their primary support system, where they find family outside of blood relatives. And it's just a fantastic story of how one chance encounter can change the way you live, can change the way you approach life, can give you a safe haven. You know, it's, and of course, again, technically it's beautifully shot, right? It's got beautiful color palettes and lighting, and its performances are unbelievable. But the story itself, the story of how human connection is what really saves us at the end of the day, is timeless. And I really think that I think the fact that they shot it, or sorry, they it was the story was placed in the context of um, a young black boy, and the impact of the people in his life was really relevant, because I feel like there's so many assumptions, too many stereotypes, too much prejudice about that whole community, the entire African American community in the US, that this movie just sort of, to whomever might view them through the lens of prejudice, would hopefully get a glimpse into the humanity of it. You know, I really loved it. um La La Land was also great. Agreed. How to pick up reading as a consistent habit. Start by reading one page every day, then read 2 pages every day, then read 3 pages every day. It's the same as any other habit, like exercising or learning a language or whatever. How to improve self confidence. Try new things. Uh, I want to leave my I was here when Urvashi had her first YouTube stream comment. Yes, please do, Keshav. You will be mentioned in my future Oscar speech. How I'm assuming that it's going to happen. Right. So just a couple more. Trying to see. Birdman is great, but I feel like Birdman is much more relatable to people who've ever been in the theater film industry. I really loved it because it spoke to me as an actor who has, you know, run around rehearsals and run around backstage and green rooms and all of that. I don't know if it's as universally appealing. It is. It has some really powerful performances, though. I will say that. But Birdman is a favorite for me. I don't know how much it can be extrapolated. Okay, last one before I log off is The Favorite. which is on Hotstar. Again, nominated for a bunch of awards. It has Olivia Colman, who plays Queen Elizabeth in The Crown. It has Emma Stone, who is Emma Stone. She's brilliant, and so it's a phenomenal cast, and it's so beautiful to watch. Like, it's the first time I've seen a fisheye lens being used so beautifully. The set design is unbelievable. Again, it's a bit of a R-rated situation, but the way that they portray royalty and nobility in excuse me in that time, we're so used to them being very proper, very bowing and curtsying and being polite. But in this movie, they just like let it rip. Like, they are being sassy. They are being what all I can hear is yak yak yak. Marty, you can just log off. um, they're being sassy. They're being witty with their insults and their comebacks, and it's just so refreshing to see a historical movie of nobility and wealth and royalty with such human emotions of like rage and anger and jealousy and competition. It's beautifully done, and it's a spectacular watch in terms of cinematography, and it's just brilliant. So those are my movies. Kumbalangi Nights I have watched. Naveen, I've seen it. It's fantastic. um I don't even know where to begin with Kumbalangi Nights. I've watched it more than once, and it can easily become my go-to feel-good movie. It's just, again, the power of humanity, the power of personal connection, the power of coming together. All of that is focused on in Kumbalangi Nights, and it's very beautifully portrayed. Spider-Man Into the Verse is also good. Yes, Into the Multiverse. No, yeah, I've seen that one. Great. It is beautiful. I could go on. Titanic holds 8. What new am I? What am I going to say that's new about Titanic? No point talking about it. Schindler's List I haven't watched yet. It's on it's on Urvishi's list, but I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to take questions for like 3 minutes and then exit. So tell me if you all have any questions. Schindler's List is, yes, it's on my list. Marty McFly is very disgruntled. Anyway, your verdict on Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts. I didn't finish it. I read it like years and years ago when I was in school, I think, or maybe when I was in college. I got about like 30% through it, and I was just like, I can't. The whole like white man's view of India was just very irritating to me. Um, that lens through which he told the story was too jarring and too annoying for me personally. The book that I love about Bombay, which is written by an Indian, by a journalist, which is non-fiction, is Maximum City. Maximum City is a phenomenal book about Bombay, and it does Mumbai justice, and it's told with such clarity and detail and emotion, and it's non-fiction, so it's real, so it's fantastic. So I would highly recommend Maximum City over Shantaram any day. And Shantaram was kind of whiny. Some documentary type books, or maybe some biographies or memoirs. I'm not a big biography person. I'm looking at my bookshelf. Documentaries RGB on Netflix, which is about no, RBG. Sorry, RGB is red, green, blue. RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg on Netflix is something I really enjoyed because Ruth Bader Ginsburg created a lot of. She ruled on a lot of things, or she put forth a lot of things that have empowered women over the years, and she did that very intelligently back in her day. So she, I think, is a real game changer for feminism, and I really love everything she's done. So RBG on Netflix. I have not watched Ed, NBC. I don't know. I keep hearing someone has commented about it quite a bit. Who is John Ray? I don't know. Did I watch Scam 1992? No, I have not. Love Monkey and Ed NBC gives early 2000 vibes of America. Okay, I shall check it out. Okay, we're at 30 minutes, friends. I'm going to log off. Thank you for joining. Sorry I didn't give you a heads up. I think I might stick to this format for a while because honestly, I am a little overwhelmed in life, and I don't really have it in me to record, edit, etc. At the moment. So I'm just going to keep doing this. I hope you don't mind. I will try to get guests on, but that also requires some logistics and stuff. So I'll just keep doing this. Jordanian collab. Guys, y'all need to comment on Jordanian's channel and tag me and say y'all should collab. I have met the Indian and Jordanian. I've met Naveen a couple of times. And I've talked to him, but I haven't really done anything about it. So y'all have to help me with that. How's my health? It's not great actually. But yes, that's it for now. The other thing I want to say is that, because I'm sort of maxed out in terms of bandwidth, I have a really hard time handling negative feedback on my videos, which is understandable. I have a public profile, whatever, yada yada, I get it. But at the moment, a big thing that's holding me back is that I am not in the right frame of mind to separate myself from negative comments, and not just like feedback. I understand, but sometimes it's just hate, and so I needed a break from that, which is why I haven't been more proactive, because I've been doing this. I think it's my 3rd year now, and it's gotten pretty tiring dealing with all the hate. So yeah, I might be a little slow to post. I will do this as often as I can. And yeah, just comment, message, email, whatever. Let me know if you want me to talk about something specific. If you have any recommendations for guests I can interview, keep me posted. I'll try to figure it out. Okay. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining. And this will be on my profile with links to my marketplace where you can buy the books that I mentioned. Thanks. Bye. How to end? Okay.